Hello, everyone. It's Sarah Ford with Warming Up with Sincerely Sarah. Today, I have a special guest with me, Bri Angle, and we are really excited to get to chat with each other today because we haven't really gotten in a lot of opportunities to become really great friends yet. So we met each other in September and just kind of sat at the same table at an event. And so I'm really excited that she agreed to be here so that I can get to know more about her and her story. And so she recently just moved. I think when we met, I was like, oh my gosh, you live in California. I'm so jealous. And she was like, I'm moving. So, so she's moved now, and I'll let her share a little bit about that. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course. So I want to just comment that we are going to place the income disclosure in the comments so that you can see that while results may vary, our results are based on very specific, dedicated, committed work. And Bri's going to share with us today about that work and what she did and how she became a superstar director with Scentsy Fragrance Company. So Bri, let's back up. How long ago did you join Scentsy and why?
Yeah, so I joined in September of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, so almost 5 years now. 5 years? Yeah, that's right, 5 years. And honestly, like I was just at a place where I had been a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home wife. That's all that I had ever wanted to do. Um, and I loved it. But my youngest was not, he was still a baby, but he wasn't, he was almost a year old. And so he was becoming a little bit more independent. And we were done having kids, and I knew that the baby phase wasn't going to last forever. And I was starting to get some of my time back in the evening and during nap times. And I just kind of was like, man, I just wish that there was something I could do that was like for me. I know that I have a creative draw, and I knew I didn't want to go back to work like a 9 to 5. And so I was just like hemming and hawing, and there were other direct sale companies that I was buying from and loving. And so I kind of was playing around with the ideas of joining those. And so just having that conversation with my husband, he was like, we're not doing direct sales. Like it's just not for us. It's not for you. And then my sponsor posted, we had been following each other for years since our oldest was a baby. We met on like a mom app, and we weren't super close. We had just kind of stayed in touch, and I saw on Instagram she had posted something about joining Scentsy, and I was like, okay, I remember Scentsy. At the time, I didn't own any Scentsy. I had known about it because when my husband was in the military, one of my best friends, she was a wife as well, would buy Scentsy all the time. And I was always like, so expensive. Like we're living on an Air Force budget. I can't afford a $6 wax bar. I'll go to Walmart and spend the $2. And I was like, I was that person who was like, I don't get the difference, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's a difference. Okay, I'm a recovering Walmart wax addict. But I hadn't bought any Scentsy since then. And so I did my research with Scentsy and kind of looked into the company and the longevity and stuff, and brought all of that to my husband and was like, I think that I could do this, and there's no risk. And that was the big draw, is that with those other direct sale companies, it was like buying into it, and there was like huge risk, right? You're spending a lot of money. And if you don't make it happen, or if it falls apart, you're out, you know? And my husband was really against that idea. And so with Scentsy, I was like, look, I spend $99 on a kit, and you have more than $99 worth of product in here. So at worst, I get to keep the product, you know, and there's no fees or anything like that. And so he was like, okay, I see that you've done the research, and, you know, I'll let you have your way with it. And I was just so excited about that. And so, yeah, I joined not really needing the money. You know, I feel like people say that, and then the conversation goes on, and it's like, oh, but the money, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't recognize the potential in the beginning. And so, yeah, I just joined and reached out to that girlfriend and my sponsor and said, I think I want to do this and tell me more about it. Tell me what your takeaway is. And of
Mhm.
course, she raved about it. And so I joined and kind of took off from there. I was so excited to get started, and I'm a Enneagram 3. And so I'm an achiever. And so when I do set my mind to something, if it's something that I love and I'm passionate about, I'm going to do all of it.
Yeah.
Like we're going to hit the ground running. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the beginning of
Sometimes
that.
forget to rest as a
Yeah,
3.
oh, I suck at resting.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, that's really cool. And so is your sponsor still a consultant now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, I my sponsor has grown her business and her team a lot through people she's connected with from her group of friends who had babies like at the same time, like from her group that she was in. She
Yeah.
just maintained relationships with them. And it's, people always laugh and I feel like make fun of
Yeah.
moms, who are in direct sales because, it's always the mom who's drinking her coffee, who's saying, "Hey girls," whatever.
Right.
But the truth is that stay-at-home moms still deserve to have something else that belongs to them because, as most or all moms know, our kids are our life. And so
Right.
a lot of times we lose sight of who we are because we just become a mom. And then what happens when they go to school and what happens when they grow up, then what's left, And
Right.
so I think that it's really been um positive for
Right.
change in stay-at-home moms for their self-worth and their value, and not because they're contributing, because obviously that's not the number one priority for a lot of people, but some it might be.
Right.
Some it might be like I know for me, if I were to have continued to do social work, we would have paid ridiculous amounts of money for daycare when it wouldn't really have been worth it.
Right.
So
Yep.
anyway, so that's my plug for moms.
Oh, 100%. Well, and I think that the other thing about that too is that the reason that there's such a draw for moms to dive into direct sales and this whole like negative connotation around that coffee cup and the hey girl conversation is
Mhm.
that it really is thriving on the idea of moms do want to create connection over a cup of coffee,
Yeah,
talking about things that they love, like because that's what they're missing out on essentially when they're staying at home raising babies. They're committed to their kids. What they would really love is to have conversations with people about things that they're loving, passionate about, that doesn't have anything to do with their kids. And
absolutely.
so, people dive into that and say it's a negative thing, and that it's not authentic or that it's not genuine, but it is,
Yeah.
and you don't understand it until you're in it. And obviously it's not for every mom, it's not for every person, like, and I get that and I respect it, but for a lot of moms, that's just what we want at the end of the
Yeah.
day, is to be able to sit with a cup of coffee, talk to our friends about what we're loving that has nothing to do with our kids. Like that would
Mhm.
be perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I'm with my quote unquote Scentsy friends,
Yeah.
aka my friends I met through Scentsy,
Right.
why I feel like we don't even talk about Scentsy anymore. It's
Yeah.
we either talk about the business aspect of things because depending
Yeah.
on what level they're at, or we talk about normal things. Sometimes we talk about being a mom.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'll kind of digress a little bit, but what what was it about Scentsy that, I guess, there wasn't much of a risk?
Right.
So why continue going? What happened that changed that kind of view or that vision for you of, I'm going to just do this for something else to do, maybe a little bit of a hobby. I'm not necessarily trying to make a bunch of money,
Right.
but what happened that made you go, "Oh, okay, well maybe this is something bigger than I thought it
Yeah.
was."
Yeah. So for me, I think that it was initially it was this idea of having these goals, right? And like shooting star, sensational star. And again, with me being an Enneagram 3 and just being like a go-getter, I felt like Scentsy as a whole was super open-ended, as far as like what you can do with it, right? So like Scentsy's out there creating all these amazing products, and we get to discover ourselves and find creative ways to tell people about these products. And that was like my dream. I was like, yes, I want to be able to like think of new ways to bring these products to people and have fun with it. And I'm a people person and I love to give gifts. So I'm like, I'm really going to make this my own. And I was just having fun with it while also chasing these goals, like shooting star and things like that. And so in the beginning, it was just like that fun. Okay, I hit shooting star. Okay, I hit sensational star 1, 2, 3. Like that was really fun. But the big moment where I said, okay, no, this like it's a game changer was I joined in September of 2017, and that was a month into the Mediterranean cruise incentive.
Yes.
And so I actually had no idea that an incentive was going on. And so I was just focused on other things, and my sponsor was focused with helping me with those things. And so come like, I think it was like November or December, I just happened to see the incentive part of it and saw that I was like super close to earning level 1. And I was like, holy cow, like if I could just push a little bit harder and earn this, that would be wild. I'd really love to see what this is about, because you know, I've been skeptical in the past about free trips and, you know, things like that. And so I pushed, and I actually earned level 1 of that cruise come January. And so I earned it for myself. And then me and my husband had to battle this idea of money and paying you know, a significant amount of money for him to be able to go on the cruise, because I didn't want to go by myself. But I felt like that I should go and see what it's about. And so we actually bought him in, and it was very expensive. But it was 100% worth every penny, because what happened on that trip was my mind was completely blown, and my heart became totally invested in this company and the people and Heidi and Orville. And it was just like, my heart was open to the vision. But the best part for me was that my husband's heart was open to the vision. So while he was like, he was cheering me on and stuff in the beginning, it was in that moment where he stepped on that ship and was like, wow, like this is for real. Like we're really here, and you're really getting treated this way, and it's amazing, and you really earned this. And there was no catch, and there's no gimmicks or nothing like that. And so that first incentive, we walked away, and I said, I will never not earn an incentive. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this to the end. I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah.
So that was my aha moment, I think, in the beginning. And I'm so glad that it happened so early on. It was just what, 5 months in, that I was like, holy cow, this is a big deal.
Yeah. So that was the year I had my son in September of 2017. And we opted to go to California instead. I wanted to take that cruise, every fiber of my being, but I didn't want to pay for a 9-month-old to go.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have to worry about nursing and caring. And then if he didn't go, at, you know, pumping and all that. So I said, this is our season of life. We waited this long for our baby. I'm not going. So we took a big trip to California. We were there for like 11 days. And you know, I love California. So, and we actually haven't been back since, which is really sad, but it was a really great trip. My parents went, my grandmother went. She got to see the Golden Gate Bridge, which she'd never seen before. So it was a really cool experience that we all kind of got to go together and have that experience. And had I not earned that trip, we would not have been able to afford to go for those extra days. And so that was pretty spectacular. So I think you're absolutely right. And when we talk to our teams, we try to say, like, events are seriously so important. And so, you know, that's why right now we're just in this weird stage of like, people don't know what events really do. And so, so I'm glad that you shared that. because, as we share this with our groups and our teams and other leaders,
Yeah.
hopefully someone watching will say, you know what, she's probably right. I probably do need to go to this event. So, so you earned level 1 through sales and sponsoring.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? How did you, because you said, I'm an Enneagram 3, I do it.
Yeah.
So what were your tasks, like, or what were your things that you did to make sure that you were successful, that you could sell, and that you could have people join along with you? And if you want to split that into 2, you can. Sometimes they go hand in hand. So just kind of share that, I guess, like however you feel comfortable.
Yeah. So for me, the sales in the beginning, I felt like relatively came easy. And I don't know if it was just the mindset and the timing of people. I had never done a direct sales, and I had never done much of like selling anything. And so when I did present this new journey, I felt like I was very well received in my friend group and my family and things like that. And so I got a lot of support initially. And I think that that was a really great start. But for me, I committed to consistency. And while I am an Enneagram 3 and I'm a goal getter and stuff, there are many, many times that I have started something and been like super gung ho and then lost motivation and fell off. And so I committed to, that's not going to happen with Scentsy. That's not going to happen here. And so I have to keep myself engaged. I have to keep myself motivated. And I think Scentsy does a really great job at, with those goals and rewarding you every month with those, the awards that you get and like things like that. And then obviously commissions. Like I don't think that anybody's not driven by money to some level. But the sales part of it for me was just being consistent. And then my sponsor shared something, and we talk about it all the time. And I was never in her VIP group in the beginning. But she shared this idea to share Scentsy like as part of your life. I treat my VIP like a lifestyle blog. And so I'm talking about the products, and I'm trying to sell you these products, but I'm not just posting flyers. I'm posting pictures of me using it, my kids using it. And I'm being genuine in it. And I'm being honest with the scents that I like and the scents I don't like, and things like that. And I think that avenue and that way of moving forward in my business initially really helped me to get sales and keep connected with people. I wanted to build relationships with people rather than just selling. Sorry, my UPS guy just got here. So I wanted to continue to build relationships with people. On the flip side of that, I did not want to join a team. I mean, I did not want to build a team at all. I did not want anybody on my team. I thought I didn't want to be the girl who was like, join my team. Like, I was like, okay, I'm knee deep in a direct sales, but I didn't want to be that direct sales person where I was just reaching out to people and being like, hey, want to join my team? So I actually, the first few people who joined my team, I didn't even ask them to join. It was friends who were seeing what I was doing and said, hey, I'm interested. What's this about? And I was forthcoming. I'm like, yeah, I'm having a blast. Like, it's all real. And if you want to join, great. But I was not asking people to do it. And then once I recognized that there's power and you can still ask people to join and be authentic and be genuine about it. And there's no reason why you shouldn't ask. Why wouldn't you ask people about the opportunity? And so in the beginning for me, the team, the people joining my team was kind of accidental in a way, just because I wasn't intending to do that. But I feel like that once you do it and once you have a team that's engaged, at least for a while, and you find your style of leadership a little bit and you're cheering them on and you're excited about what they're doing, it's hard not to want to continue to grow. It's hard to not want people to continue to be a part of it. So
yeah, I think, well, first of all, I want to touch a little bit on the lifestyle blog. I think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that it really taps into making your VIP almost like your stories where
Right.
they're going to be able to, they know that if they go there, they're going to find great content. And I'm working to try to increase mine and make it better.
Yeah.
But then also what I want to clarify and what I want to say and show is like that you were maybe not intentionally recruiting,
Right.
but you were intentionally working. And
Yes.
so you can't really expect someone, people say, oh, well, you're lucky because it just fell in your lap. Well, it didn't just fall in your lap.
Right. Right.
You were doing things
Yep.
that encouraged that. People are seeing you be excited. They're seeing you go on a trip. They're seeing you loving a new product. They're seeing you use it. They're seeing you share it. And so it's not just, oh, hey, this happened. It was, I was intentional.
Yep.
And it happened because of that. And I think it's always kind of been something that I've not striven, that's not a word, strive to be, it's that authenticity
Yeah.
and being genuine in your practices and what you're doing.
Yep. Yep.
And so when did you then when did you promote to director?
I promoted to director in 2018, I believe. Yeah, it was 2018.
Okay.
It was September of 2018.
For 1 year.
1 year. It was right after SFR in Anaheim.
Mhm.
And I was just telling this story to to our team because we were talking about Scentsy family reunion, and
Mhm.
we're talking about how leaders are born at events, and I feel like that every single event, if you are engaged and you are committed, you have a aha changing moment for yourself or your business during every event. And it was during that first Scentsy family reunion for me that I was sitting next to my sponsor and we were watching the directors do their director walk.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there just in awe of, honestly, at that moment, I was in awe of Scentsy and their form of recognition. And you could just see the love and, their,
Yes.
I just love that. Because I'm big on recognition and things like
Mhm.
that. But I was sitting next to my director and she leans over to me and she goes, you're going to be up there next year. Like, I'm calling it for you. Like, you are going to be walking that stage. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like, first of all, I'm not going to let you down. And second of all, like, I do want that. And so I put my head down and got to work. And I can't remember, I believe I was a superstar consultant at that time. I believe it was a superstar consultant. And so 2 months later, I promoted to director, and it was incredible. It was such a huge moment for me, and I honestly sat there for a few months and was like, it doesn't get better than this, knowing that there's like star director and superstar director. But I was on such a high from just that title and having Scentsy be like, their form of recognition when you hit director is just like so much changes, and
Mhm.
you're like, wow, this is really cool. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that was in September of 2018.
Yeah. So for those watching, director is our third from the top
Yeah.
and or second from the top, however you look at it. It's director, star director, and superstar director. And so Bri and I are both superstar directors now. But at that time, I think I was still, I might have been a star director. I think I was. So yeah, I mean, having those moments where you really want to achieve something and having a goal, and that's one of the things that I've learned with Scentsy, is that having a goal and shooting for it is better than not having a goal because you're afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't hit the goal, you still get further if you're working towards it.
Yep.
And those moments are really special when
Yep.
we hit those big goals that we're just not sure that we're going to be able to hit, or maybe we don't even have the confidence, but we're going to do it anyways.
Right.
And so I love that because I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I would have never been what I am, or had I ever had the dream to be that, had I not ever gone to a family reunion. And so I haven't missed one since then because there's just something magical that happens there. And I'm sure people, laugh at that, but it's true. It's like taking your church to taking your it's like taking your business to church. Sorry, some random person just pulled up at my house. So
Yeah, I know the
I don't
feeling.
have a clue who it is, but um
That's a great way to explain it though, taking your business.
okay, yeah.
I
So
love
it's like taking your business to church,
Yeah.
So if you are a Christian and you love church,
Right. Right.
and it's the same thing,
Yeah.
in any other part of you or
Right.
what you are, makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, sorry, it's someone putting a sign in my yard.
Oh, lovely.
Whatever. It's the realtor. It's
Oh,
not her, but it's somebody. So
yeah.
it's okay. She did it last year too. It's fine. Anyways, so now that I've lost all train of thought.
You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So you hit director, and then growing directors is a whole nother thing too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you start to grow those directors,
Mm-hmm.
how did that happen? I guess what I'm saying is, how did you take it to that next step? And what were the ways that maybe you engaged some of your leaders to really look at that at the same level? Was it at events or was it something else?
Yeah. So for me, it's funny. I kind of think about the different titles and directions and leadership as it pertains to Scentsy as like raising babies, right? And so like milestones that we achieve when we're raising a baby, when they can sit up and when they can walk and when they talk, and like those milestones, I feel like are different titles for Scentsy in a lot of ways, and it just helps me to wrap my mind around it, because at the end of the day, when you have a consultant that you've sponsored that sees the vision with Scentsy, or maybe it doesn't happen right away, but they see it and they want to hit superstar director, they want to be a director eventually, all those things, I look at them then as I look at my kids and say, I'm raising adults. I'm not raising children. I'm raising adults, right? The end goal is for you to be a responsible, capable, intelligent, kind, adult in this world. And so I look at my consultants, the people who I sponsor, in the same way. And so if they see the vision and they express that, I look at them as, okay, you want to be a director, superstar director, whatever. I am raising you to be a superstar director, not raising you to be a lead consultant or a star consultant or just a consultant. Like, we need to start doing the things now that get you to that title, right? Showing up for the job that you want, dressed for the job that you want, kind of mindset. And so for me, yeah, that switch from growing directors and above was just the idea that I had to separate what my leadership was versus what they were going to adopt as their leadership. And I think that that's a hard key to turn over sometimes, is because we're like, well, we got here, so we want you to do it just like we did. Right. And we talk about like duplicatable systems and like all that kind of stuff. And that's great. But at the end of the day, I'm going to just provide you the resources, and I want you to find your way. I want you to find what way works best for you, because my way is not the only way. And you're going to figure it out, and you're going to stumble and you're going to fall, but you're going to figure it out. And your road to director or star director or superstar director doesn't have to look anything like mine. And so for me, that hardest transition was just recognizing that the leadership that I was presenting to them, it did not have to mirror what they were doing. And at the end of the day, again, this is something that my sponsor has said, but you run with the runners and you walk with the walkers, right? And so looking at sponsoring and bringing people up to director and stuff like that, that's just always been my mindset. Like, if you see the vision and you're motivated and you're willing to work for it, then I'm going to support you, and we will do everything that we can. But if you don't, then you don't, and I'm here when you need me, kind of mindset. And so I think for most of my directors, and I have one star director, most of them, I feel like events were a game changer for them. All of them have attended some sort of event. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what speaks more clearly to them is the leading by example. So me and my sponsor, we train very heavily together on our team page. We share the team page. I do have my own, but we share a team page and we train weekly and we provide the content and we are engaging with them and we are building relationship with them. And for me, it's that leading by example. It's never being afraid to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm working. This is how I'm having those joint conversations. And I'm not asking you to do stuff that I'm not doing. So here it is, black and white. And, if you're going to run, then you're going to run. If you're going to walk, then you're going to walk. But like I'm putting it all out there. And I think that we can't force people to rise to the top or do what they're going to do. They either are or they aren't. And so I'm totally okay with just throwing it out there and seeing who bites and
Yeah.
being intentional about what happens after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely, I think that that's important because, we might want that for everyone, but not everyone's going to want that for themselves.
And I think that's the hardest part about leadership, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
And especially when you are like a people person and you want people to succeed. That was my biggest hurdle as a leader, was
Yeah.
wanting it more than any given person, out there,
Mhm.
wanting it more than they want it, and me not understanding, or me getting my feelings hurt, or me taking
Yeah,
it personally. That's a hard thing to overcome as a leader.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's always been the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
When you want to shake somebody and
Yeah.
say, you can do this.
Hang up. Yeah.
Not to be a jerk, but I want to yell at you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for sure. So what do you think, or what do you do? What are your tasks? Like, what are some things that you're working on every week or every month? Do you have no answer is wrong, so let me just say that. Do you have a specific system that you work through? Is it something you created or something that you kind of got from someone else? Do you have just specific tasks that you do every week, or do
Mhm.
you just kind of play it by ear? How does that look for you?
Um, yeah, so I, I am so impressed with people who can wing it, because I am just not, I can wing it with very little things. Most of the time I need a plan. But I also, like I said in the beginning, I'm also quick to be like, once I lose motivation or I'm not seeing the results that I want, like I'll switch it. And so I think my system is just kind of like different pieces of other people's system. I love, love, love Christina Steinbrook's scalable systems, where she has certain days marked for certain things, like Teens on Tuesday and stuff like that. And so for me, I've kind of taken that a little bit, but there are absolutely tasks that I do in my business on a daily, weekly basis. So for example, daily, I always track my numbers. I'm always writing down my numbers. On a weekly basis, I am checking in with team members, frontline, things like that. I am consistently posting on social media. I have not missed a day since I started and posting in my VIP group. There's never been a day of silence. I've never ghosted. I've never gone away. They know that the content is there every single day, and that's something that they can count on.
Mhm.
I recently started implementing was emails. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I started doing emails, and for me personally, emails for my customers and my team.
Okay.
I do like shout outs and recognition via email. I used to do mail recognition, but that became too much. So I do email recognition, but I wanted to start doing a newsletter I was doing them weekly, but then I decided to do for my team just a monthly newsletter. So here's kind of a recap of what happened last month. Here's what's coming this month that we know. Here's what you could be working towards. Here's some ideas. Here's what I'm going to be working towards, and just sending that out so everybody is on the same page. And then for my customers, I realized that after 2020, everybody was on social media. And then now that the world's kind of opening back up for the most part, people have taken a step back from social media. And where I feel like I thrive on social media, I recognize that my whole customer base isn't on social media anymore,
Mhm.
not all of them. And so I want to make sure that I'm still being in their face with, my business and being a good steward of being their Scentsy consultant. And so making sure that they have information. And so I started doing a weekly email for my customers,
Okay.
a newsletter type thing that says, hey, every Friday I send it. This is what's coming this next week. Here's my link. Here's things that are going on in my life. Like it's still kind of like a lifestyle blog where it's pictures of my
Mhm.
kids. And like when we moved to Texas, I was like, here's what's going on. I'm still unpacking, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
for me, the email thing is the newest system that I have implemented in my business that I feel like is actually um, it's produced a lot of good results for me and it's been
Great.
super fruitful. So that's a
Awesome.
big one.
I
Yeah.
love it. Um, okay, so a couple more questions. Um, and these questions come from consultants who I've said, what would you want to know? Like if I were gonna ask the superstar director a question,
Yeah.
what would you want to know? Um, so we kind of already talked about some of them. Do you do thank you mail?
I do. I do thank you mail. And I do handwritten thank you notes. I actually have like a stack of them right here. I like have them made, but then I write, and that's something that I've done since the beginning of my business. I always handwrite thank you notes. So I do
Yeah,
thank you mail. Yes.
absolutely. Do you do some of the month mail or do you just mainly stick with your emails?
I don't do scent of the month mail. No.
Okay.
I send samples and the brochure and all that stuff with thank you mail.
Mhm.
But that's usually just for my customers.
Okay. What is your biggest win and what experience have you learned the most from when it comes to not feeling as successful? What I would paraphrase that to be is what is your biggest win, the moment that you were so proud, but then what was maybe the biggest challenge where maybe something didn't go the way you thought?
So I think the crazy thing about business, like Scentsy in general, but then also just like anything in life, work, business, whatever you're doing, um, I never want to feel like my best day has already came and gone. Right. I want to look forward to my best days are still ahead. I'm still going to have more moments where I can be like, that was my biggest win. And then have another one a couple years later or whatever. I always want to be looking forward to more best days.
Mhm.
But with that being said, I do believe that there are monumental moments that can happen within this business. And so for me, I've had a lot of amazing wins. I feel like in my business and things that I'm very proud of. Um, but right now, we're literally sitting in the first home that we've ever bought. And that was not something we could have predicted 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Um, we have zero debt besides our house and a car. And so for us to be in such a financial position where when we first got married, we were sleeping on an air mattress, and it's just like, to me, without this business, and obviously insert income disclosure, but like
Yeah.
without this business, this house, this dream of moving to Texas, like all these things that we wanted was not in the cards for us, at least in the foreseeable future. And then last year in 2021, I think it was in December or November, we came to Texas and started actually having a real conversation about what would it look like to move
Mhm.
to Texas. And within a year's time, we were here and had the keys to our house. And so for me personally, it may not have anything to do with like earning a Scentsy title or anything like that. But for me personally, this is what Scentsy has given my family. And
Yeah.
my why has changed significantly because now I'm doing this business for the benefit of my family more so than the benefit of me. But I still find great joy in it. And I still love everything that I'm doing, but I'm doing it for a much deeper purpose.
Mhm.
So for me, it's this house and buying our first home. But as far as challenges go, I think honestly, my biggest challenge has been overcoming, and it's a very general thing, but just overcoming the leadership woes. because I feel I'm a normally very confident person, but I'm also a people pleaser. And
Yeah.
so I struggle with walking that line of knowing who I am, standing up for who I am, and then faulting to what people want me to be.
Mhm.
And so in leadership, you you'll drown if you walk that line for too long, and you'll lose yourself. And so there were a few moments, and even with customers, honest, I've had one not great customer. And so it's hard to have to remind yourself, or to be reminded of who you really are in the midst of a really difficult time,
Mhm.
when you normally pride yourself on being a pretty confident person. And I think leadership can draw out those insecurities sometimes. And so for me, it's been the leadership aspect of it, as far as like the difficulties in trying to help other people and trying to encourage other people to see their potential. That can be very draining and very hard. And yeah, and it's something that I still to this day am like, I definitely don't have it all figured out. It's still something that I'm working on figuring out. But that would be my biggest challenge, is the leadership part of it.
Yeah.
The hard parts about leadership.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's good ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have really enjoyed kind of watching your journey in terms of like when you said you were going to move to Texas, I was like thinking it was going to be like, 5 years. And then and then it was like a year,
Yeah.
and not even a year since I met you in September.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um I've just enjoyed that. And I think that that's one part that people don't realize when you share your life, because your customers are going to see that.
Right.
And that just that joy that you get to share with them about your life, and how incredible it is. And it also, not that this is your intention, but it also proves to other people that this
Yeah.
isn't fake.
Right. Right.
Like, it's not something that you're just doing because somebody else tells you to do it,
Right. Right.
and you're working really hard.
Yeah.
It's not something that, like, you're just sitting on top of a mountain collecting a bunch of money and doing all these things. It's I've worked really hard, I've planned, I've sacrificed,
Yep.
and I've pushed forward
Yep.
so that my family can be in a place that makes us really happy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's beautiful. And I think it's honestly, it's new in our world and in our culture for women to be able to put their families in different positions. Not to say that men aren't doing that,
Right.
or that they're not part of that,
Right.
for sure. Because I wouldn't have ever had the opportunity or the position that I have without the support and the stability that my husband has brought to the table, of course.
Same.
But it's different. We're no longer just these homemakers.
Right.
But
Right.
of course, sometimes that comes with challenges like balance.
Yeah.
But it really helps us to prioritize things.
Yeah.
Anyways, I could go on and on forever.
Yeah.
But I'm so thrilled that I was able to chat with you today and to get to know you a little bit better. And so I just want to say thank you
Thank you.
for joining my call today, even amongst our technical difficulties. But it's perfect, and I'm really excited to share it with the world. And if you're watching and you love this video, which you will, I would encourage you to share it with your teams. I don't even care what business you're with. The important thing is that you hear what Bri's saying about the things that she's doing that are helping her become successful, and then in turn what that is helping her and her family do. So
Yeah.
thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Sarah.
All right. Don't jump off yet.
Okay.